Welcome to the night mode edition of the Mark Jackson Show. I'm Mark Jackson. This is my dynamic co-host, my guy Blue. It's draft night and also a lot of big news when it talks about the New York Knicks. We have a very special guest, a legend. But first, we got to pay some bills, Blue.
Man, Pops, you can't be getting me excited every single time. We have a special guest. You get me, man, never mind. Anyways, shout outs to Underdog Fantasy. Go ahead and click the link in the description and use the promo code MARK. That's M-A-R-K, and they are matching the deposit up to $250. All right, Pops, back to you now. Don't throw it to me no more, sis, man. Do your thing.
Okay. We got a legend. The resume is crazy, so I'm just going to tell you apart. It's Fordham's finest, Fordham's absolute finest, Fordham University. He's the 2021 Naismith Hall of Famer, 1998 Broadcaster of the Year, 3-time Emmy Award winner, the voice of the New York Knicks for MSG, the voice of the NBA on ABC, ESPN, absolute legend, an absolute GOAT, my guy, my brother, family for life, the one and only Mr. Bang, Mike Breen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's an honor to be on this podcast, which I am a faithful viewer and listener, and especially to be on with him, because that's his name, him. This is one of the elite hosts in all of the podcasting world. I am so impressed by Blue. You're just killing it.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike. You know, my natural instinct is to get nervous when I see you come on, because I've looked up to you for so long. So it's a blessing to just have you on with us, and we excited. I know it's going to be a good episode.
Well, I'm so proud of you, Blue. And Mark, you forgot one thing on the resume. Big Met fan, the team that just swept the Yankees.
You got, what are you, one game under 500 right now?
No, we're 500 now.
Oh, congrats.
Even 500. Thank you.
Hey, I missed you, man. I missed you.
You have no idea. I missed you too. It's just, I love to see your face. I'm so glad to be on with you.
The crazy thing is I'm going to be asking questions that I know the answers to, but I got to do my job. I understand I'm not him, but I'm him's partner. So I gotta do my job. So bear with me.
Why don't you just chill out on this episode and let him do it all?
Thank you. This is what I'm saying. See, Mike, we need you here sooner.
No,
well, eventually it's going to happen this way. It's eventually going to happen. So let's go with it early.
You're right. No. You're to blame, though. You're to blame, because he'll call me like, I got a text message from Mr. Mike. I'm like, what does that mean? I got a text message from him for 25 years now. I never brought it to your attention.
Look, Mike, I didn't tell him. You sent me like 2 or 3 text messages. I didn't talk about it, but my swag started improving. And he was like, what's going on with you? I was like, some big time people said I'm doing a good job. So I'm feeling good about myself.
He needs to know. He needs to know.
Well, I'm going to tell you quite honestly, thank you. I know it's late, but thank you for taking the time out and joining us. We certainly appreciate it. You was in high demand as far as the viewers wanting to see you be a guest on the show. So thank you for joining us. My question to you is, when did you first desire or dream of being a broadcaster?
No. Dad, we're not starting off there. Stop it, please, with this. Stop.
You tell him. You tell him, Blue.
Thank you. You see this. You see the sweater today. Time out, Pops. We got Mike Breen here. We need to ask, Mike, how do you feel about the new acquisition for the New York Knicks, Mikal Bridges? What do you feel about this? We got to talk about this first before anything else.
I think he's like a perfect fit for this team. He's such a terrific two-way player. There's so many positives. It's crazy that you have to give up 5 first-round picks to get him. But for this team, they've been waiting to get the right guy to fit in, to help them take that next step and be a championship contender. I think he's exactly what they need. He's a great defensive player, not a good defensive player. Obviously, he's shown he can score 20 or more. You're not going to have to probably do that on a nightly basis because they have so much depth. High character, very available every night. The guy never misses a game, and as we know, that's critical in the NBA. And he's young, and he can grow with these guys. They've got a team that can be a real problem for everybody for a number of years now, as long as they stay healthy.
How about for you, though, who experienced a lot of underachieving years for the Knicks. Now it seems like they've turned the corner. Exciting times, and going to be in the mix to have a chance to win it all. It's got to be special times for you.
Last couple of years, Mark, it's like, I feel happy for. Feel happy for the Knicks fans. They, as you know, they're as loyal as any fan base in any sport. They've been through a lot of lean years, some really rough years, and to have a team like this, it's not just the fact that they're winning, but it's the way they play. They play for each other. They play hard every night. They're unselfish. They sacrifice. And that's going to be key coming up next year because you got a lot of guys that are coming off career years. And some of them now with some additions might have to play less minutes, won't get as many shots. And that's going to be critical for this team. But I don't think it's going to be a problem because we've seen how unselfish they are and how they're willing to share the wealth and do whatever it takes to just win as a team.
Seeing that you have called Knicks games for so long, what was it like, once again, almost to revisit the glory days of the Knicks, seeing that they had such success in this past season, calling those playoff games? I know watching it, the environment seemed unbelievable. Maybe you could just elaborate on that a little.
Yeah, Blue, that may have been the best part. The fact that the Garden sounded like it did in the glory days. It's when there's a big event, and not just basketball, whether it's hockey, whether it's a concert, whether it's a boxing match, it really is the world's most famous arena. It has a special electricity to it. And to hear the Garden like that, roar like that night after night during the first couple of rounds of the playoffs, brought back memories of the Patrick Ewing, Charles Oakley, John Starks Knicks, because that's when I first started broadcasting Knick games and the building was alive every night. It's the same thing again. And it's something that the Knick fans deserve because they were there even when the team was 40 games under 500 in a game in April when they've been out of the playoffs for 2 months. If a game is a 2-point game with 5 minutes to go, they're going crazy. They're just so starving for a team. And this team is something they've been waiting for.
Well, you've seen a lot of outstanding New York Knicks point guards. Just a quick question. Tell me how special Jalen Brunson is.
He's number 2 behind Mark Jackson. That's just a feed line the way you did it. You should be embarrassed. Blue, this is the kind of stuff that you have to get him away from. He's just throwing out the fishing rod trying to fish for that compliment.
You're right. It's bad. It's bad. I'm glad that you're here. I'm learning from the best right now. I need to learn how to reel him back in. You're right.
My fault. Tell me how special Jalen Brunson is.
He changed everything. His leadership, his work ethic, comes to play every night. So unselfish, not afraid of the big moment. He has it all. And I don't even think his dad realized he was going to be this good. I mean, to think that he was going to be one of the leading scorers in the NBA, to think he was going to get MVP votes. I don't even think his biggest fans thought that, but it's his work ethic that has got him to this level. And, the Knicks talked about, they need that superstar. They need that. I think he's in that conversation right now as one of the elite players in the league, because especially when you saw how some of their key players went down with injuries and every defense was geared to stop him. He's still throwing up 35 points, 40 points on a given night. And the best thing, Mark, as you know, is when a guy can do it in the playoffs. And he has saved some of his best games as an NBA player in the postseason. And he did that in Dallas too. And now he's doing it in New York.
And you say his biggest fans. I don't even think, and I'm not trying to be a smart aleck. I don't think Jalen Brunson thought he was this good. This is a different level, and I say that with great respect. He is playing at an all-time great level. The performances he put on, especially when the lights got brightest.
When you look back when he was in college, you knew he was a terrific player, but the system in Villanova was all about the team. So not one player, or it was difficult for one player to really stand out. I mean, they win the national championships, and it was because of the team. Now he gets drafted, he goes to Dallas, and he's playing behind this generational talent in Luka Doncic. So he doesn't get to show just how special he is. You saw signs, and I remember you and Jeff used to talk about him all the time when he was the backup, how much that you guys loved his game. But you had no idea how good he could be because he was playing mostly as a backup and playing behind a guy that had the ball in his hands all the time. Now he goes to a team and the ball's in his hands and it's his team and he just takes off. I would agree with you. I don't know if he thought he was going to be an MVP candidate, but I know he doesn't lack any confidence on any given night that he can beat anybody.
I want to ask Mike, what is what is it like, the demeanor of this Knicks team? Because I see a lot of videos. I see Jalen on his podcast talking, and they seem like such a good group of young men as far as character. And maybe you could just speak a little bit about what it's like being around that team and seeing them interact with each other.
Yeah, it's they respect the coaching staff. They respect each other. They respect the game. They play the game the right way. And they realize that it's still a game that's played by 5 people together. And some nights the ball is just on a string as it goes around and touches everybody. It's so beautiful to watch. It's the way the game was supposed to be played. The old gladiator line, strength in numbers. That's what this team is. It's strength in numbers. There's some really talented players, some really talented teams. But when you get a group like this that plays for each other and plays the game the right way, they on any given night can beat anybody. And again, like I said, with the addition of Bridges, it just adds another dimension to them and another really talented player who plays the same way they do. He will fit in with their culture. He will fit in with their coaching staff. And clearly he's going to fit in with the players, a lot of them he's played with before, obviously in college.
And tell me now, getting back to my first question, when did you dream about being an announcer?
Well, when I was in high school, there was still a glimmer of hope. Maybe my freshman year that maybe I could play college ball, and who knows after that. But that quickly went out the way. I had no shot, and I tried to think about how I could possibly stay in sports. And there was this guy who lived in the neighborhood. His guy's named Tony Minicola, and he was in college. He went to New York Tech, and he worked at the radio station. And he started talking to me about, hey, you might want to think about doing this. And it's a good way to stay involved in sports. So I started thinking about, okay, I'll be a communications major, or maybe I'll try a radio station in college. So right around 15 or 16, when I realized I had no shot at not only a pro, but playing in college. And going to Fordham was the thing that really changed it for me, because they had a great college radio station. And I found out right away how much I loved it.
Tell your Mike Tyson story real quick. I'm going to ask you to tell a couple of stories, but share your Mike Tyson story.
Okay, so my first job out of college, I'm working at a radio station in Poughkeepsie. And they have this Poughkeepsie Mid-Hudson Civic Center was the name of the arena. And they were having what was billed as, and it really was, the biggest sporting event in the history of Poughkeepsie. And Billy Costello was the light heavyweight champ. He was from Kingston, which was a nearby town. And he was on the main event, and he was a great champion. But about a week before, he broke his hand in training, and he was out. His fight was out. But they had sold tickets, and they had other matches on the card. And the promoter was calling every radio station and every single newspaper in the area to beg them, please come, even though Costello's not going. He's like, we've got this young up and coming heavyweight. He's going to be on the main event now. So I'm like, I just was looking for any kind of sporting event to cover. I mostly did news when I was working for this radio station. So I was all fired up to go. And it's Mike Tyson. And it was his 5th professional bout. And he knocks the guy out, if I remember correctly, in the 3rd round. And all the reporters left. Nobody stayed afterwards. I was the only one that stayed. So the promoter asked me to go down and interview him. So I went down to his locker room, and it was Cus D'Amato, Kevin Rooney, and Mike Tyson and me for about an hour and a half. And I just held the microphone, and Tyson would talk, and D'Amato would talk, and Kevin Rooney would talk. And I had no idea. I mean, I knew obviously he was powerful and looked like he might be a hell of a boxer, but I had no idea what his future held. And it just was one of the coolest nights I could ever remember, because all he did was talk about the history of boxing. He would talk about Joe Louis and all the great fighters from the past. And I'll never forget that. That was pretty special to see a guy at that age and then see what he developed into one of the great heavyweight champs of all time.
Now, I want to go back a little bit and talk about. I recently heard you speak on Dan Patrick's show about an incident that happened Game 5 regarding Kyrie Irving and some Celtics fans. I wanted to know if you could maybe elaborate on that or talk about that situation for viewers that haven't heard your take on it.
Yeah, well, as anybody who watched the series knew, that Kyrie Irving he's kind of villain number one when he goes back to Boston because of the way he left there, and he was getting booed every time he touched the ball. And I actually respect the way he handled a lot of it and talked about admitting that he was a different person then, and he did some things wrong back when he was in Boston, and he understood while the Celtic fans didn't like him. So he's playing, and he makes this great hustle play, dives into the stands, and it was right behind us. Actually, he just completely plowed into our statistician, Dave Freed, and knocked him over. And the way it's set up is the fans right behind us at the broadcast table, I mean, they're right up against us, so there's no room. So Kyrie got himself wedged between the fans and us, and he couldn't get up. He was caught in between. We're trying to help him up. And as we're helping him up, some fan yelled something, and I'm not just saying that, I didn't hear exactly what the fan said, but it was something ugly. And Kyrie turned and looked at him. He's like, really? Like, what's wrong with you? And I just felt in that moment, this poor guy is like, he's down there, he's getting crushed, and he's wedged in between our table and the fan seats. And somebody had to say something like that. But he got up, ran back in and did it. But those fans are great. They are great in Boston. But it's always that one fan that can kind of spoil it sometimes. And unfortunately, he had something inappropriate to say.
You've done the most championship games all time, and you've been courtside in Madison Square Garden for so many years. As an announcer, have you ever been starstruck sitting courtside by anybody in particular?
Oh, I get all the time. Maybe not to the point of when Rihanna walks by the table, I don't stop in the middle of the broadcast and say, "Look what I just saw."
That's a shot at Jeff.
Yeah, that's still one of the all timers. For me, Mark, and you know this, it's such an honor to call the games, and especially the finals games. All the work that you put in when you played, and any player to get to that point, you feel this responsibility to do it right, to do it justice, and make sure that you enhance what they're doing on the court. And so I'm in awe all the time of the players. I think the first time that I saw Magic Johnson or Larry Bird or Michael Jordan or those guys, I mean, it was in awe, and you still can't believe how blessed you are to be doing this and being around such great players. It's hard to pick one, but all right. So I want to talk about helping Kyrie up. Can I ask a question, or can I tell the story?
Of course.
All right, Blue, you don't know this story.
I was going to ask you to tell the story, by the way.
All right,
that was the second one.
So, as you know, your dad is.
Let me set it up. This is my question I was going to ask. When did you realize I was truly an all-time great friend of yours?
Okay, so I knew all along that your father he's one of those people, and I'm not just saying this, he would give the shirt off his back. Mm-hmm. If he's your friend, he will do anything that you need whenever you're in trouble. And that happened to me countless times with him. He's just, he's as loyal a person as I've ever met in my life. I know I could count on him no matter what the circumstance was. But I wanted to test it one time and just kind of see. So I had this bad back one year. It was always giving me some kind of problems. I was having back spasms and stuff. And one year was bothering me a little more than most. So we do a game, and I go back to the hotel, and my back was okay, but I figure I'm going to soak it in the tub. I'm going to go in the bathtub and sit in the hot water and soak the back a little bit. And I finished up, and I got up, and I'm getting ready for bed. I'm thinking, I got to try this. So I call up Mark. I said, listen, Mark, I need your help. I said, I got these really bad back spasms, and I'm in the tub, and I can't get out. I can't get out of the tub. I can't move. I said, I can't have one of the valets or the bellmen come up and help me out. You got to come get me out of the tub, please. So there's like 10 seconds of silence on the phone. There's nothing. I don't hear anything. And all of a sudden, very quietly, he goes, "What room you in?" Then I knew that is a true friend. That's real friendship right there.
Let me make it clear. I would have grabbed every sheet, every blanket, every cover. So there's no, I'm not that much of a friend.
No, he would have done it. Like, I mean, it's like you said at the top. I love him like a brother, and that's just one example of how many times he helped me out. I used to, BLUU, he'd come and he has a great selection of ties. Like your father has the best selection of ties. So we'd do a game and I'd be looking at the tie like, that's nice. And if I said to him, that's nice, one of two things would happen. When the game was over, he'd take the tie off and he'd give it to me. Or if he really liked the tie and didn't want to give it away, he would go buy the exact same tie in the next game. He'd give me the tie. And that happened. I mean, that happened countless times. And my problem, I always felt I should have started complimenting his car. I'm going to get a car out of it.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, Mike. You got to thank me because I laid the foundations as a kid. When we go in Toys R Us, I used to do the same thing. I'm like, I like that. And then he'd be like,
yeah.
Somehow it ended up at the house. So, you're welcome.
Yeah, he likes to act like he's this tough guy, but he's not. He's got this big soft heart, and it's easy to get stuff from him.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't about me. Dealing with your partners, tell me a little bit about Coach Hubie Brown and your relationship and the time you spent with him.
He's one of the most extraordinary people I've met in my life. He was so wonderful to me when I first started. My very first finals game, or the first finals I ever did, was with Hubie. In many ways, like a father figure to me, and really, gave me a lot of guidance and support. And I always remember the first finals game I ever did. I was so nervous, and I'm not talking about just like, okay, this is a big. I mean, I was nervous, petrified, because some of the executives at ESPN were telling me, "Hey, listen, you got to call the game differently. You have to appeal to the casual fan who've never watched the NBA all year." And they kept saying that to me over and over and over again. So I'm thinking, okay, I got to appeal to the casual fan. I can't. So the game starts, and I'm probably exaggerating here, but I'm saying stuff like, okay, he's going to go to the free throw line where he's allowed to take 2 shots with no defender coming up, put a hand in his, just ridiculous stuff. I was explaining basic things, thinking I have to appeal to the casual fan. And Hubie sensed how nervous I was. So we go to the first time out, and he leans over, he grabs my arm firmly, and he says, "Hey, kid, just call the game the way you always call it." And it completely put me at ease. And after that, I was okay, and I just started calling the game. But he, I mean, I don't know if there's any person that knows more basketball on this planet than he does. And the fact that he's still calling games at age 90 is one of the most remarkable things in the history of our business.
What is it like for you to now rub shoulders with these legends? I know with the Knicks games, you call games with Clyde. I know that I've heard you speak about how Marv Albert has impacted you, and you speak about Hubie, and these are names that honestly you're now in that room with them, and in my opinion, the best to ever do it. But what is it like to now be friends with these people and interact with them so often?
BLUU, there's still some days where it's impossible to believe that I know these people, that I'm friends with these people. And again, to say the same thing, I've been blessed in so many ways. This game has given me a life that I could never have imagined. This game has given me friendships, and that's still the best part that I never could have imagined. And I'm not keeping going back at him, but I watched your dad play when he was at Bishop Loughlin. I used to go to the Catholic high school playoffs all the time. Then I watched him play in the Big East tournament when he was at St. John's. Then I watched him when he was, a real arrogant, cocky, pain-in-the-neck player for the Indiana Pacers. And those years, by the way, I hated him. Okay, but I got past that. But to have these kind of lifetime friendships from people that you have such admiration for and respect. And when you first meet them, you can't believe that you're getting a chance to meet them. That never gets old with me. I never lose sight of the fact that I've been so blessed to be put in this position and be a part of this amazing game, just because of this silly game with the ball that we all play and love, and to have a life like this given to me is beyond my wildest dreams.
Yeah, think about that. You're a New York City kid calling games with Walt Clyde Frazier.
Yeah, there's my mother still lives in the same house I grew up in. My mother's 92. It's a house in Yonkers. And when I was around 10 years old, I put up a poster of Clyde because I was a big Knick fan as a little kid. The poster's still hanging up in the house, and that's over 50 years ago. And now, Clyde's another one. I have this lifetime friendship with him. We've been doing Knick games together for coming up on 30 years soon. It's just I can't believe that this is my life sometimes.
And on another side, there's Jeff Van Gundy. Talk about how special it is calling games with him.
Well, I think this. It's we had a friendship, the three of us, before we ever called games together. So then all of a sudden you get not only are you around these people that you love as brothers and you have such respect and admiration, and now all of a sudden you're calling the biggest games in basketball with them year in and year out. It's just, for me, it was such an honor. And BLUU, I'll say this to you because he gets embarrassed when I say this stuff. And I made this statement in the Hall of Fame when I was blessed to be put in, get the G.O.A.T award at the Hall of Fame. I said the reason that I got that award was because of our work together. It's not a singular award. It's our work together. We were a team, just like playing basketball is a team sport. Broadcasting basketball is a team sport. And that's why I was up there on that stage that night, because of our work together as a team.
And then we had a hidden camera in his room where he went there and was like, "It's about me, baby. I'm him."
I was in the bathtub doing that.
But look, he was doing all of that helping with you. I need him to pick up some weight now. What's up, Pops? I need to get some.
Hey, this podcast is doing that for sure. People are talking.
Oh, you know the streets are talking, Mike?
Yeah, the streets are talking. I've got my ear to the streets every day. See, he has me saying stupid stuff like that.
Okay, so I have to ask. I know you've answered this question a million times, but what is the origin of the legendary Mike Breen bang call? What's the origin, man?
It's not a great story, but this is how it happened. I was when I was a student at Fordham, I'd call a bunch of the games for the student radio station, but most of the games I was in the stands. I went to almost every Fordham basketball game when I was a student. And whenever a Fordham player hit a shot from the stands as a fan, I would yell bang. I was like, yeah, fire, yeah, bang, because you root for your team. And I tried it a couple of times on the air as a student broadcaster, and I didn't think it worked, especially on radio. So I kind of shelved it. And then the first play-by-play job I got out of college, I was doing this high school game of the week for Sports Channel America. And we would go into these high school gyms on Friday nights. And as you guys know, on a Friday night, depending on where you are, there is no better atmosphere than a high school basketball game between two rivals. And we would go all over the place to Atlanta and Indianapolis and Memphis and obviously New York City. And some of the crowds were so loud in these little gyms, these bandboxes, that when a player hit a big shot, my voice wasn't strong enough to overcome the crowd. And I needed like a short, concise call. That way I could give the call and let the crowd come in and take over. And bang is a nice, short, one-syllable word. And I used it on those high school games, and I kind of liked the way it worked that way. And I was always one that felt as a sports fan, I love to hear the roar of a crowd, and it's a way to give the moment, let the crowd come in and take over. So that was the origin of it.
Awesome.
Think about how powerful it is that we can be doing games and a superstar household name, all-time great, and Steph Curry will bring Mike, sneakers, celebrating his double bang. Or Chris Paul could be in the middle of a playoff game and shoot a three and look over and say bang. It's unbelievable how this guy is absolutely the GOAT and legendary, and his impact is not just known by the broadcast world, but also the guys that he's covering.
Well, it's remarkable that one word has really helped my career. I mean, the finals in Denver, Jamal Murray hits a three and he's running back and he's yelling bang over it at the scores table during the course of a finals game. But that's where I feel it makes me feel good because it's part of a big moment that I always wanted to make special for the player and special for the fan. And if people love it, then I think I've done my job. And that's the whole idea, is to make it entertaining and fun for the fan.
I tried to make brick good when I was shooting, but brick.
Oh, we used to have BLUU. We used to have we'd have these shooting contests, your dad and I, all the time on the road when we had a chance. And I'm from 15 feet in, maybe even 17 feet. I'm okay.
No, he's better than okay.
He
got a knockdown jumper.
We'd play horse, and I'd be hanging in there, and then all of a sudden he goes beyond the 3-point line, and I'm done. I had no range.
Yeah, he turned it up.
Oh, it was, yeah, and would take great pleasure in defeating me. It wasn't pretty.
Outstanding mid-range jump shooter, outstanding free throw shooter. I would say the best in the business.
Did he ever catch you?
No. I took him to the 3-point line. There's a problem there.
Yeah, always. He kind of let me think I was going to win, and then he would just take it away.
Talk to me about the Boston Celtics. How impressive was their run?
There are certain teams that face unbelievable pressure to win it all. And especially those two young guys, Tatum and Brown, they felt the pressure that this was the year they had to win it all from day one of the season. That's massive expectations in that city, which is, one of the big sports crazed cities in the world. And for them to handle it the way they did all season long. And the reason that they finally were able to overcome is because, again, that word, they sacrificed. They sacrificed some of their numbers. They didn't define their game by scoring. They became playmakers. They became consistent defenders. They became leaders. And that may be my favorite part of the job, is watching young players come into the league and watch how they grow, not only as basketball players, but as men. And, we're not supposed to root, and we don't on the air, but it's hard not to feel really good when you see those two players, the way they've come into the league. They established themselves as stars and became these just terrific young men who learned how to win it all. That to me those are the most satisfying years, because they were under a lot of pressure to win it all, and the two of them came through. And even when they had off nights shooting the ball, they figured out other ways to impact their team. It was the ultimate, again, team basketball that won out. They were the best team by far.
I want to ask, I know we just finished watching the NBA draft last night. I want to ask, of course, it's important to give credit to Zachary Rissache and these other players that came tonight. But the elephant in the room is Bronny James and what could possibly happen tomorrow. What's your thoughts on the possible impact of another father-son duo? We've seen Ken Griffey Sr., Ken Griffey Jr. We've seen it a few times in history. But what's your thoughts as far as if we'll see it again with Bronny and LeBron James?
I've never, not that I'm going to give you a cop-out answer here, BLUU, but I've never seen Bronny play in person. And I always hate to talk about a player that I've never seen in person. But from what I've read, he's got the ability to play in the NBA. And if that's the case, and he does, and it looks like he certainly will, to have that happen, I think it's remarkable. And for those two maybe happen together, you just think about that, of being able to play on the same NBA team and watch, and you figure the pressure that was that young man being LeBron James's son. another one. If you talk to him, I've seen him being interviewed. He's so damn impressive, and it would have been easy for him not to be because of the spotlight that he grew up under. Who his dad, one of the most famous athletes in the history of sports. Yet this young man's got his head on the right way. He was raised the right way. So you root for him, and you hope that somehow he can figure out a way and get on a team. And if that's with his dad, great. And if it's against his dad, it's just as great.
How about the way looking at the league and the young talent? It's you thought, okay, what's going to happen when Bird and Magic retire? What's going to happen when Jordan retire? What's going to happen when Kobe retires? What's going to happen when? And you keep on going on and on and on. And the talent level is absolutely incredible in 2024 and moving forward. The league is absolutely in great hands. What's your thoughts on that?
No, there's no question. There's always another great player that's going to come along. What I'd like to ask you, Mark, on that is what I see the differences from when I first started doing games is often rookies came in and they felt like rookies and felt like they had to kind of pay their dues first. These young players now, they're different. They come in confident, cocky in a good way. And it's like, I'm not paying my dues. I'm ready to dominate right now. Have you noticed the difference in the younger players than when you came in?
1,000%. I mean, you come in as a co-host, pay your dues. Next thing you know, you got a him hoodie on. They don't want to allow it to marinate and wait for their time to come. They make a stance and a statement that I'm here and I'm here to stay. And it's a credit to their swag, their belief, their work ethic, and the way that they're prepared to take over, not just in the podcast world, not just in the NBA, but that's just the way that these young folks are going about it, and it's awfully impressive, and I salute it.
Yeah, you go to a game and you look at the starting lineup of a team, and the starting lineup's 21, 23, 20, maybe a 26-year-old, and one of the best teams in the NBA. I mean, look at Oklahoma City, what they were able to do with that young team. They weren't waiting for anybody. Now, obviously, they got knocked off, and Dallas was phenomenal against them. But there's today's young player, not only from a physical standpoint and from a skill standpoint, I feel they're more mentally prepared to play under the spotlight than any other era.
Yeah, I had a tough time going from high school to my freshman year at St. John's, and I was an All-American. I felt like I didn't belong. The talent level was just, the gap was tremendous. And to think I had a chance going from high school to the NBA, or to think that Luka Doncic is a 5 or 6-time All-NBA player, and how old is he, Mike?
25.
25 years old. He's a 5, 6-time All-NBA. It's just ridiculous.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
It's crazy how it's like that, and it's it's a credit in many ways to the players that came before him. The sport has become so popular now, and there's so many good players out there now that they obviously put in the work to get there. It's not like they're just going up and down the floor and playing pickup games and playing their high school games in AAU. They're putting in the work on their skills. They're putting in the work on their bodies. That I think back in the day, a lot of players didn't do and weren't as prepared to start. And that's why even too, like you'll see so many of these players that they played 1 year of college and they come out. They played 25 big time games. Now they're all of a sudden in the NBA, but many of them are ready to perform. Now there's also a lot that they come out too early. They aren't ready and they don't develop. But there's so many of these young players that are just, they're ready to play from day one in the NBA.
So, well, spinning from the other side, Mike, I want to ask, what do you think of women have always been balling, but lately there's been a resurgence of recognition for the WNBA and what the ladies have been doing. What do you think of these new young players, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, and even shout out to some of the other veterans that have been already cooking in the WNBA? But what's your thoughts on this recent resurgence?
Blue, I didn't know when I first got into the business, I didn't know and follow women's basketball, whether on the college level, pro level, and clearly the pro level when I first started was over in Europe. They didn't have a a WNBA back then. And I got assigned to do the 96 Olympics for NBC. And I did that gold medal winning team. And it opened my eyes on how good these women were. I had no idea that the level of talent in women's basketball was that high. With that said, back in 96 compared to that and now, the skill level it's almost like two different sports. It's incredible. Back then, the players were good. They're fundamentally sound, but there weren't a lot of good shooters. Now everybody can shoot. Now everybody can handle. They've got range. They've got flair to their game. There were some great players back there. Don't get me wrong. Whether you talk about Annie Myers and Blaze and Nancy Lieberman, and of course Cheryl Miller, they're great players. But they were more the exception in a lot of ways. And now you go down a list, and there's 10 players on the court at one time, and they can all shoot threes. It's incredible the skill level that's come, and it's great to see. And the popularity is off the charts. And when you have a player like a Caitlin Clark, and no matter what sport it is, when you have somebody that has like range like she does, it just brings so many new people to the sport. Whether you're talking about when Tiger Woods came in and he completely changed the popularity of golf. There are tennis players over the time. Every once in a while, a great tennis player comes in. And the amount of people that new people brings to the sport. She's doing the same thing in women's basketball. And now everybody's seeing she's not the only one. There's so many players that have this tremendous skill. It's been really fun to watch the growth. And I remember, again, being a complete novice and having no clue of how good these women were. And to see it come to this level has been really fun.
Let me ask you a question. We ask everybody this. You've been around the game for a long time. Who is the best player you've ever seen?
Man, that's hard. Because it's all different. No, don't roll
Get
your
off the
eyes at
fence,
me.
Mike. Get off the fence.
This is the stuff he used to do. He wants a definitive answer, and there's not a definitive answer. You know what? By the way, Blue, he would present these arguments. He's the ultimate instigator. So he would present an argument with me and somebody else, and then all of a sudden he'd just back away while we start arguing, yelling at each other, and he's over on the side laughing. So he likes to throw these things out there like that.
Yes, but that's the plan.
But you can't you can't compare eras. You just can't. Like, I will never say who's the greatest of all time. You can't.
Okay, let me ask you this, Mike. Let me ask you this. You're sitting there with the number one pick in the draft. Out of everybody that you've ever seen play basketball, who are you selecting?
What year is this? You just can't. I mean, obviously Michael Jordan is there. LeBron James is there. Kobe Bryant is there. Magic Johnson is there. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is there. Bill Russell is there. There's just too many great players. You know what? One of my favorite expressions is comparison is the thief of joy. Because once you start comparing this guy and that guy, he's better than him, you have to start saying negative things about the other one to say, well, the reason he's the GOAT is because this guy doesn't do that or didn't do that. And I hate doing that. So I can't pick a greatest. I know that's a cop-out.
Look, Blue, I appreciate that answer, Mike, because as you said, he tries to instigate. I don't even know how this has become a new segment where every single guest, it's got to be an instigation between me and them, between whether LeBron or Jordan. I love both of them too.
No, you got everybody that's ever played. I didn't narrow it down to two people. He's sitting there with the number one pick in the draft. It's up to him to select.
But you know what you're doing. You know.
Well, of your former guests, who did Dave Snowden pick when you asked him that question?
That's a good question. Did you ask?
We don't ask him basketball stuff.
So tell me who's yours? Who's your number one pick?
With the best player I've ever seen in my life, and this is with respect to all the greats, is Michael Jordan. So I'm taking Michael Jordan with the number one pick.
Okay. And
see how easy that was, Mike?
It was easy, and I wouldn't argue with you.
And now you're sitting there with the number one pick, and you're taking...
And I'm not doing it. You know what? I'm trading the pick for 3 later first-round picks.
Oh, my goodness.
I want to ask before we move on, I just want to ask, if there's a young reporter, journalist broadcaster that is maybe struggling or starting their career, what advice would you give to them? Just that. What advice would you give to them maybe to hold on or to get through a tough season in their career?
Well, I think number one is, and I've said this to whenever I go back and talk to students in college or even high school who are thinking of doing this, the number one thing you have to do to succeed is preparation. You have to be prepared in everything you do, whether it's on the air, whether it's you're writing an article, whether you're doing a podcast, it doesn't matter. You have to come prepared so you can just worry about using your skills and not have to worry about, okay, did I study enough on this? Do I have all the information on that? That's number one. Number two, I've always said, like for me, when I do a game, I want the fans to know or the viewers to know, all right, this guy's prepared. You can tell he really did his work. Number two is to let the viewer know that you love what you're doing. Man, he loves basketball. You can tell by listening to him, he loves basketball. And then number three is whoever you're working with, make it seem like you really enjoy being with that person. And I think if you accomplish those things, now I'm just talking obviously from calling games, from that standpoint, preparation, show enthusiasm, and being able to work with others, I think you're in good shape if you can do those three things. And just be the person. I told this to my kids, be the person that everybody loves to work with. Man, I love working with that guy. He comes in every day. Oh, man, that woman, she's fantastic. She's in a good mood every day. She's ready to go. Be that person that somebody always says, man, I love working with that person.
Just a couple more, Mike, and we'll let you go. But I tell you what, Blue, I've seen firsthand how many people have jobs and careers because of the impact that Mike Breen has given them, whether it's acknowledge him, give him a nugget, make a call to assist them, or put a bug in somebody else's ear that this person has incredible talent, and then just to assist them even if they reach the status of calling NBA finals, whether it's encouraging or depositing something to Jeff and I, carrying us along the way all those years. He's a special, special guy, somebody I got tremendous love and respect for. But talk to me, Mike. We know the importance of home court advantage in the NBA, and I know how important home court is to you. Talk to us about your family and their sacrifice and the love that they have and what they mean to you.
Yeah, well, sacrifice is something that they've had to sacrifice because of my job, for me to go pursue my job, which I love so much. But the one negative has always been being away from your family. But when you have a family that's so supportive, my wife Roseanne is, I hit the lottery when it came to finding the right partner, and she's been so supportive in everything I've done, and help raising the kids, and often raising the kids herself when I'm on the road all the time. And she did an amazing job with them. And, it really is all that matters. As you know, as a father of four, all you want to see is your kids grow up to be happy and healthy and love life. And I've been fortunate that's been the case with them. I said this a number of times on the podcast, how blessed I am. Mark, you and I have talked about our faith in God has guided us throughout our entire lives. And I thank God every day for the life he's given me, for the family he's given me. And I'm just blessed beyond what I deserve.
One last question for me. News lately, J.J. Redick hired as the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. Talk to us about that hire and your thoughts.
Well, I think from being around him, he loves basketball as much as anybody I've been around. He's so smart about the game. He sees things. He's just got a great mind for it. And I think he's got a chance to be a great coach. You never know how somebody who's never been in that position, you never know if they're going to succeed because they've never been there before. But he has all the ingredients and all the characteristics, I think, to be a great coach. I mean, Mark, you never were a coach before, and you went in and the job you did at Golden State was off the charts. And I'm sure people were saying, well, he's never coached. Why is he going to get the job? Or, what kind of job is he going to do? But you showed what it was like. And I think he's got that kind of potential. to be a great, great coach.
Okay, Pops, well, you know what time it is. We got to take a second and pay the bills. Shout out to Underdog Fantasy. Go ahead and click the link in the description and use the promo code MARK. That's MARK, and they are matching a deposit of up to $250. We appreciate y'all.
I got to say thank you very much for the time you've given us, Mike. You're a true legend. Love you. Your family for life. And it's a special, special episode for us because what you mean to us and the impact that you've had over our entire relationship. So thank you so much for joining us.
Mark, I love you, my brother. Blue, I'm just so proud of you with the man you've grown to be. And pretty soon you'll have your own podcast and you can ask all the questions you want.
Oh, my goodness. Well, that's a wrap. That's a wrap. That's a wrap for this episode of the Mark Jackson Show. I'm Mark Jackson. This is my guy, Blue. Our special guest, the GOAT, the legend, Mr. Bang himself, Mike Breen. So thank you so much for joining us. Remember, in the 1960s, there was a young man that was devastated. He lost his mom suddenly. Suddenly, his mom, who was the love of his life, died. He was upset, tough time, cried himself to sleep, disappointed, hurt. And then one day, his mom came to him in a dream. And she said, in the dream, I'm okay. I'm fine. Live your life. And then she said 3 words to this young man that changed his life, woke him up, inspired him, and impacted millions. She said, let it be. That young man penned a song. Little Paul McCartney penned a song that goes down as one of the greatest songs ever written because his mother inspired him. She woke him up and she got him back his bounce. I'm talking to you now. You've lost something. You've lost someone. You're battling. I just want to encourage you. Let it be. Blessings.